worries. Do, 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 do. Hello, early birds joining early. Hi, everyone who's here. I am here in spirit, and Dr. Riza is also here by getting coffee. And he's back.
These modern coffee machines, the longer it takes to prepare, it looks like it's an art. A machine, but takes time. Anyway, sorry for that, Magda. Yeah.
No, you're fine. I'm a pour over kind of girl. So I like, I have my pretty kettle with the long neck, and you slowly watch the coffee bubble. It's really satisfying, actually. Good way to start the morning. So we are at the time that we are supposed to be starting. So we will kick things off. Riza, just so you know, people trickle in and out. So don't be alarmed by low attendance yet. It'll be okay. Hi, everyone who is here. We appreciate you being here and sticking around, and hopefully, oh, thank you, Anuradha. Thank you for being here today and for always being here. You guys are amazing. I forgot to change my name today. My name is not Kocharya. My name is Magda, although sometimes I feel like my name is Kocharya, and that's okay. I could be worse. So Magda, comma, Kocharya. This morning for me, this evening possibly for you, we are joined by Riza Kadilar. Is that how you say your last name? I kind of forgot to check. Who is the fearless leader of the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, which is an amazing organization, one that we are accredited by at Kocharya. And this morning, evening, whatever, Riza will discuss what we're talking about today. But for me, there are two reasons why I'm excited about these sessions. Well, many, but two primary reasons. One is because we're talking about social media, digital world, and emotions. And I've experienced many of those. I have a long history with pretty much every social network. As a career marketer, I have joined every network there is, basically the week that it launched, or as soon as they would allow you to launch. So I've had, I think, more than my fair share of stress and yeah, let's just leave it there from social media. And the other reason I'm really excited is because Riza and EMCC in general have this similar goal that at Cocharia we are striving for, which is democratizing coaching. And in our definition at Cocharia, it's not just democratizing coaching in terms of people being able to get coached, but also people benefiting from the kinds of skills that we learn as coaches. For any of you who have seen me before at anything, I tend to talk about that a lot because in my life, work and personal, there's so much that I'm doing that I don't get to coach people very much, but what I get to do is apply the things that I have learned in my coach training and that I learned from you, my peers and learners at Cocharia and in the community. I apply those things every single day. And to me, that's really fascinating. So what this entire event, Awake, Aware, Arise, is about is helping all of us figure out what can we do as individuals, even if it is just within ourselves, but hopefully more than that. But what can we do as individuals in our communities, in our families, in our workplaces, in our government, everything. As coaches, how can we use these skills that we have to make the world a better place? And today's session is, the angle is around digital world and social media. So yeah, I'll leave that there and I will let our speaker introduce himself and introduce the topic. And he did warn me that he wants to have a discussion and that he wants questions. So I'm expecting questions right away and I'm expecting people raising their hands and I'm guessing that Riza's gonna tell you guys to come on camera. So be ready, you've been warned. Riza, over to you.
Hello, everyone. If there's a possibility to turn this into a kind of meeting format, why not? So if we can have our participants to turn on their videos, that's great. But if not, don't worry, because we have the chat and we will use whatever we have in the most efficient way. Because I'm not here to tell you or to dictate you or to instruct you anything. I'm going to share some of my ideas, the way I see the world, and then it will be nice to have your feedback and questions to move forward. Before we do that, and before I introduce myself, I'd like to hear on the chat, where are you now? So which, I see somebody from Uruguay, for example, and India. If everybody, we are about what, 10 people, 12, now Chicago, okay, Magda is from Chicago, I know, so another India, all right, okay. So we really cover a huge time zone here. Iowa, all right, London, okay. So we are kind of covering a pretty large time zone. Congratulations, Cocharia. So that's amazing to put together this so large coverage. So this is Riza, as Magda said. I'm currently serving as the global president of EMCC. That's my first term and it's coming to an end in the coming month. And I was re-elected by a consensus for another term. So I think I will be around for some more time, another 3 years, to promote and to realize the things that I believe I truly feel passionate about. And I'm going to touch upon some of those things about coaching, mentoring, and supervision in the way we see it. The topic of today's, well, I need to do some more disclosures. Nobody's perfect. I'm a banker. So everybody has a dark side.
Sorry.
I'm a banker, sorry. Which means today I'm not just only talk about emotions or social media, I'm also trying to explain or to share my understanding what's going on in this wild world in our economies and everything. So let's see whether it will make sense or not. You said fearless, not there yet, but brave president of EMCC, let's say. And again, another disclosure, warning, warning. Everything I'm going to say is nothing to do with the official views of EMCC. even though I have some impact on the MCC's preference and everything, it's a large, big, well-established organization, so I can't really claim what I think is what the MCC think about. There were some confusions in the past, so just to clarify, I'm here all alone, lovely sharing the screen with Magda, being a guest of Koçarya. We are really proud that you choose EMCC as your partner to ensure that your offerings carry our global standards and quality assurance. So we are proud of being your partner in that case, in that respect. So the topic I wanted to kind of, it's like Pandora's box. We're just gonna open it, and I don't know whether we'll close it back or I don't know. It's all about what's going on. Everybody has an idea about what's going on. We don't have to understand everything, but I think I can claim that there are some big trends that's imposing important issues on us individually. Let me first get one step back to tell you about about Homo sapiens, who we are, the algorithm, as Dr. Harari says, the algorithm that we have, our DNA. Some scientists claim that we were not the only Homo. There were some other Homo, Neanderthal, Lucius, Darius, whatever. There are many, at least 12 different types of Homo. And sapiens won it over a course of a couple of 100,000 centuries. So it's never happened quick. But basically, the ultimate weapon that Homo sapiens had over others was the ability to get organized and to collaborate. Homo sapiens was not the strongest, the most resilient or whatever, but the ability to get organized and to collaborate. And when we look at the human history, all civilizations, the rise and falls of empires, the big milestones in civilization, not only big wars, but the times when humanity advanced in technology, art, it's always the same pattern. Those who can get organized in the most efficient way and who can collaborate prospered. And today, humanity is facing another big war. Let's face it, this virus is really causing us a big headache, a serious headache. Because what happened for the last 6 months, it's unprecedented. So maybe it happened in the past, we don't know. But basically in our living history, we have similar, maybe, diseases or whatever, but we haven't seen the world economy come to a sudden stop like that before. And all the things we assume that is given, flying from one city to another, even driving from one to another, going to shopping or whatever, everything stopped. So we are in a war, we are in a big war. It's maybe in the past humanity had bigger wars, but we are facing a war today. And the problem today, we don't see the enemy, we don't feel the enemy, and we don't know the enemy. And the real problem, if we apply what worked in the past, like getting organized, coming together to collaborate, we are doomed. Because the virus wins when people are physically close to each other. So we need to find a way to really deploy our ultimate weapon to get organized and to collaborate, but then not in the physical world, in a new fashion, the virtual, what we're doing today. All these people, all of us, all over the world, we are just coming together to collaborate. So basically what's going on could be maybe explained that way. Today, we are kind of forced, but we are lucky enough to have some basic technologies to maybe, Gustavo said new world, I don't know when the new starts or how often the new changes, but we have to find a way to get organized in that new domain. And what's really amazing me an expression in English. I don't know, we have colleagues from different countries here. Maybe they can help you, they can help me. I don't know in any other language we say pay attention. You know, it's making attention, given attention, or whatever in all the languages I know. But it's only in English we say pay attention. And I'm not a linguist. I can't claim that but it's weird, isn't it? In the word, in the language we use, wherever we put our attention, we also put our wallet. And this is basically what social media is doing, what all these technologies are doing. Maybe you have followed, there was an IPO. IPO is a public offering of the stocks, equity of a company. And it happened mid-September. A company called Snowflake. I didn't hear about them before. Maybe none of you heard about them up until this very day. On the day they were offered to public, their market cap became higher than the bank who did it, Goldman Sachs, you know, world class, big, whatever, $60+ billion market cap. Snowflake, suddenly, they ended the first day of trading at $66 billion of market cap. Double the size of GM, Ford, whatever. And Snowflake is what? Is data warehousing, cloud services. They organize data. They even don't really do this analytics or whatever, predictions or whatever. They organize data. And their yearly income is $245 million. I can give you similar examples from the big guys. You know, what happened during the last 1 year to this big, you know, Apple, Google, whatever, this FANG, Microsoft, whatever. Their share price doubled in a year where the whole humanity is really suffering from one of the biggest ever economic challenge. So we're talking about this K-shaped recovery. So why on earth are those things happening? I think that's partially brings us to the topic of the day, digital emotional contagions. Because in order for us to put our attention on one thing, the human mind is not easily coordinated. Our brains are in a kind of chaotic mode. It's very difficult to concentrate on one thing. Already I'm talking more than 10 minutes. It's an ordeal for some of you. But when I put the emotions in work, we are here. What unites people are not necessarily the talks or ideas, are the emotions. And what's going on with all these networks, social media and everything, they are kind of prepping us, preparing us for this new world where we need to put our focus on a new type of collaboration. It's weird. I'm all alone in this home now. I'm in Bodrum, Turkey. This is our summer house. My family lives in Amsterdam for work. I'm in Turkey. And instead of being in Istanbul, where there are so many corona cases and everything, I put myself in an isolation in our summer house. I have few neighbors around, but summer is over. But I'm not alone. So I'm with you. So after this session is over, I'm going to have a meeting with the board members of EMCC Luxembourg. Such a lovely life, isn't it? I don't even fly. I don't even pay for it. I don't risk my life. I'm at home and never get bored. So this is my choice. But what's one step ahead? Unfortunately, in order to get used to this new way of life, we have some tools which are totally outside of our control. They are kind of using some algorithms to put our focus in some places. And as I said, whenever you attend to something, you pay for your attention. Some of you maybe have already watched The Social Dilemma, Netflix documentary about how social media works, how all those algorithms, and they animate it, okay? It's not just a documentary. There are guys playing different types of algorithms and everything. Basically, we know how human psychology works. We know how basic fears, basic needs of human psychology have to be fulfilled. And social media is there to support us. But in the way they do it, you know, there's a saying, If you don't pay for the product, or if you don't pay the service, then you are the product or you are the service. There's no free lunch. So every single second, every single minute, every single hour you spend on those networks, it means, you know, you are the product to be sold. And you're happily doing it until somebody says, maybe you're not. Because what's going on, our social networks are made up of maybe similar people like us. And our emotions are triggered by similar type of impetus. So more we share, more we create an addiction to those feelings. I wake up in the middle of the night, I check my, at least telephone. I don't necessarily check every social media account, but I check at least, I don't know, for me it's WhatsApp, I check WhatsApp. For some others, it could be another thing, but I do check. I go to, the many times in a day. And it's funny enough, they give you your statistics, how many hours, times, and the number of times you're checking and everything. It's amazing. So it's not just, it serves any purpose. I'm kind of addicted to it. So addiction, is it so bad? I don't know. Humanity needs some sort of habits in order to safeguard our lives, in order to make life more understandable, controllable, a feeling of being belonged, the belongings and everything. It serves a certain purpose, but it doesn't really justify me spending, 3 or 4 hours on those networks. But I'm happily doing it. So what's the catch? The catch is those emotions becomes contagions. And when it's a contagion, it brings a different type of me who is not there to have a willingness to see the other side of the coin, to understand what others are feeling and thinking. So it really enhances my own feeling. So it's a kind of iterative process where I lose control of my emotions. In the very last book, Harari says, we are almost deciphering the algorithm of life. Cambridge Analytica, with only 50 likes, they can tell you who you are better than you know yourself. Anybody who knows you, they know you better. As long as they predict your next move, that's great, because they create a kind of certainty in the course of the future. And when they bring any commercial or anything in front of you, they can claim that they bring what you like in front of you. So that's great for the advertisers and everything. So we are trapped in this game. And Harari says the only tool that we have is to know ourselves. If I know myself better than these 50 clicks, maybe I have a chance to still not to be the victim, but maybe the master of my life. But it opens many topics as we are passionate in EMCC. For example, the topic of inclusion. And I had a long debate with our talk leaders about how can I increase my capacity of inclusion. Inclusion is good. I don't have to repeat what inclusion is about. Inclusion is something that we have to. It's a new norm. With technology, with the rise of Asia, it's becoming an inclusive society. We have to create. We all know it. But the problem is, I don't know how to increase my sense of or capacity of inclusion. So when I have this debate with the talk leaders, the answer we came up with, maybe I can decrease my capacity of exclusion. So whenever I notice what I exclude in my life, maybe it can give me a hint about how I can embrace what's different, what's, how I can include different things. It all comes back to, in EMCC, in everything we do, we claim and we are true to ourselves to be inclusive. And I can give you many examples. In coaching, all we know is, being aware of your feelings, your emotions, the triggers of your emotions. When you feel something, where you feel it, how you feel it. where you feel the resistance. What value are you preserving? The reason of this resistance, what's the worst worrisome outcome you can prevent yourself? These kind of questions that's really been in the core, maybe, knowing yourself. For example, in our accreditation process, our very first competence is being aware of yourself, self-discovery. And the second thing is about how committed you are to grow yourself. These are the very basic things. So basically, I think as coaches and mentors, and one of the things we know, we increase our capacity to be comfortable in the unknown, our capacity to feel comfortable with what's uncomfortable. These are all tools, very simple competencies that's needed for coaching, but I think they're all a part of the social contract today. Social contract in any profession. There's no hierarchy left in many companies. We are all talking about multi-stakeholder network management. All the carrot and sticks doesn't work today. How to give motivation to people, we need to come up with new ways. And it all starts to know yourself and to understand how others can also know themselves. Because the worst thing, and then it comes to different episodes like Y generation, Y, Z, millennials, how we are paid to go to trainings to understand them, and they are kind of very simple. It's all about very basic coaching skills. And let me finish with another highlight, touching upon the mentoring, because there is lots of confusion about those definitions and everything. So basically, mentoring is a process where a contextual wisdom is used at the service of the mentee in order to he or she develop herself. So it's not advice giving. So whenever you do mentoring, you should never give advice, because the problem with advice, if you're right as the mentor, then the success all belongs to you. If you're wrong, if the mentee fails, again, put the blame on the mentor. So where is the growth? Where is the development? Where is the transformation for the mentee? So in order to secure it, we never give advice. But of course, we share context. We simply share ideas, the way we see things, but then we withdraw. It's not attached. Everything we share as mentors is detached to let mentee to observe or not. But basically, that's a very key element for transformational developmental mentoring. Okay, let me bring back and to close this, because I can talk much longer, and I'm not going to repeat what the social dilemma claims, how the teenager suicides is increasing, how the fears of not being enough is fueled, and how social media is creating this addiction. Fine, but here we are. We have the biggest weapon we have. We know in today's world, we need to collaborate in a very different way. In the old ways of coming into the same company, in the same cafeteria, in the same classroom, in the same stadium to support our team, doesn't work today. I don't know in many countries what's going on. Even the football, soccer is played in many countries without spectators, without the followers in the stadium. So we know change is here. Maybe we strive to go back to where it was. Maybe the where it was will never come back. So we have to know how to cope with this change, but at the same time, we don't want to be a victim of some algorithms to use us as a product. And the weapon we have is ourselves, knowing ourselves, increasing our awareness. So that's why I do congratulate and celebrate the success of Cocharia and all of our providers, training providers. You are doing a great job. And hopefully with this concerted or cooperative approach, we share the same passion. I'm not standing here on behalf of the coaches or mentors. They are grown-ups. They can sort out their own problems. But I'm here for coaching and mentoring because I think there's 8 billion people out there they need it. And I totally agree with Magda. It's not about being coached. They should have all the competences of a coach, and they should deploy. Because you know what? When you have a better coachee, coaching works better. So then instead of educating the coaches, maybe we should educate more and more the coachees in order to increase our impact in this domain. So Magda, I think there's already some questions, burning questions. You can just get them.
Well, I think everyone's listening very intently. So I would love for all of you to just take a pause and add in your questions to the chat. And unless I hear from you otherwise, I will ask you to come on screen and ask them because we want the discussion. But what's coming up for me a little bit is, okay, on one hand, I'm so proud that Cocharia has always been a remote organization. Of everybody at Cocharia, I've met one learner, I met one trainer once, and I've known Ram for a long time. Other than that, I've never actually physically been in the same room with anybody. And that's kind of amazing that we've grown so much. And I feel like I'm so close with all of them. So we know this works for a fact. And, you know, I've always thought that I was pretty self-aware, and I continue to learn that I can be more self-aware. But I think like on the spectrum, I'm pretty good. Yet I still fall into these trappings of social media, emotional takeovers. And actually last night, as I was trying to fall asleep, I admit I'm a doom scroller, and I saw this tweet where someone says, I can't wait to go back to the time when I would go to bed early and read a book versus doom scrolling on Twitter, even though I know it's bad for me. And what advice do you have for people who, I mean, I should know better. If anybody should know better, I should know better. Yet without fail, several times a day, I have my phone and I look at Twitter and I try to diversify my Twitter. So like, I'm not just part of, you know, crazy Polish women who like dogs Twitter. I'm part of many different Twitters. Apparently PhD Twitter is one that I'm really into, and scientist Twitter, because I'm getting targeted with ads that I don't understand now. Anyway, what do you think? What can we do?
One advice, and there's a book, recent book about it, is to arrange some no chronos time, no chronos period in your life. For example, I do. I stopped for some time when I was all alone in the lockdown, but in every week I spent 24 to 36 hours without my telephone. It's a detox. You do various diets, don't you? So it's very, very possible to do some detox with your technology, but it's not just there, it's also the time. So we are so time pressed in everything we do. We are living to the minutes and the hours and you know, whatever. So what's needed for our brain to have some time, a period without any clock, any minute. So again, it could be just a weekend, it could be just a few hours, it could be just 1 day in a month or whatever. You can maybe create this sphere where your brain really slows down. And the third thing is deep inside. You know, we know that social media feels benefits from some of the emotional needs we have. Those emotional needs could be, I don't know, not being alone, being to belong to something, or I don't know, fear of missing out something. You know, these are all many different things that we could develop in ourselves. So once you know what it really serves, it's much easier to use it rather than to be used. And then you can play some tricks. For example, we know that any advertisement coming to in front of you is to make money for those companies. Don't look at them. Don't ever buy anything that comes in front of you. And then, you know, the algorithm get tired with you. They don't understand what they can sell to you, okay? And then, for example, for Netflix, I never watch anything that the Netflix advised me to watch. And even what I did, we use the same account with my daughter, with my wife. And I think for Netflix algorithm, I'm a very weird guy. So, you know, all the romantic comedies and then all nail polishing of my daughter and all my whatever interests, put them together. It's, you know, and then, yeah, that's for sure. Don't really go with their advice. Just try to be, you know what you want to get out of it. Instead of watching everything they bring in front of you, you know who you want to follow. Just follow the people that you want to follow and then stop.
But isn't that another way of paying attention to them? Isn't it just as bad to be like, I refuse to do what you say, versus I do exactly what you say?
No, I'm not against. Look, I speak to some businessmen as well, and I tell them whatever they do today, they need to bring an element of virtual collaboration in their business. So if they can't bring this new way of thinking, for example, today, the best soldier most probably is a drone operator who has the best capacity of using a joystick. So it's not the brave hearts of the history that we watch on TV is today's the best soldiers. Of course, on the land, in the field, it's all different. But what really gives the upper hand to armies is not the people in the desert or whatever. So it's basically, you know, it also, and the same thing for business. In my time, you know, we used to produce and we used to put the good price, do the marketing techniques, you sell it, you make a margin. Finished. Today, there's no such thing. There is today we're talking about the long tail. Everybody can become your client if you're a platform, if you're a kind of market economy, which means, yeah, you can't take your attention away from those things. I'm sure when you have your own social media, you also benefit for your business. And the way you describe, Koçare is already well positioned to benefit from this. And then pricing, your economic model, the way you create value. There are many things that we should learn and we should really excel. So in my thinking, again, I said I'm a banker. There is no way that we should be aware of. You know, I have a very basic assumption, and maybe if you don't agree with this, it's very difficult to build anything. For me, the best way the best day to live in history is today. Maybe even better tomorrow. Because I believe in technology. I believe in advancement, civilization. There are ups and downs, of course. There are the wrong geographies. There are the wrong places to be, whatever, I know. But overall, when I look back, I'm not against technology. I'm not against the big business developments. These are all at the service of humanity. But I don't want to be a victim. As a person, if I spend 7 hours a day on my telephone, I should get something out of it. Otherwise, I'm ruining my life. It's a slow death. It's suicidal. If it's really serving my psychology, why not? But is it really? Am I really aware that's the only thing really I need 7 hours a day? If not, all I'm telling is look deep inside, try to understand your motives, your feelings, and instead of getting away with this digital emotional contagions that's been created, maybe you can find your own priorities. Where are the books, outdoor walks, writing, or any other activity? Why are older people not looking forward to any of these social media, yet so content? I think there are two different questions here. I think, first of all, the total number of books sold in the world is increasing in digital format, but it's increasing, you know. The outdoor walks, let me tell you, with this COVID, you know, I was with a friend of mine from Stanford. I went to Stanford and for my master's, and a neighbor of mine is still a teacher there. professor. He said the California Avenue, the main Palo Alto Street, it was a very busy traffic, whatever. Now it's all pedestrian. People are out because they can't dine inside. So people started to discover even this beautiful, lovely California weather, people used to prefer to be inside with aircon. Now maybe there's a fresh air that we can take some. So I'm not so, and the writing, the number of blogs are increasing. So let me tell you, I'm still not, I don't want to bring anybody back to conventional life of the last millennium. I'm happy with this millennium. All I'm telling is to use technology for your own purpose. And older people, I don't know. My mother, she's very active on Facebook. So, and she has an account in Snapchat, and with my daughter, her grandchild, she's communicating on Snapchat. They even share their map status, so they both know where they are, whatever. So again, if you know what you want to get out of it, it's not too bad, but don't fall victim.
So the way that I'm interpreting that question that was posted was, we look forward to these things like walks and books and things. I mean, I definitely do. I'm excited when I'm going to have some time with my book and I can just be with the book. And I'm a paper kind of girl. Like I'm tried e-readers, not my thing. But I'm never like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look at Facebook, yay. And I'm excited about everything, but I'm not excited about this. So I'll consider myself an older person now that I'm 40. But, I do wonder why we're not excited about it. And again, back to this whole self-awareness. So Facebook has been a funny experience for me. I've been on Facebook since Facebook allowed people to be on it. And it's been like this up and down journey. And a few years ago, when I discovered how much cruelty to animals exists in the world, Facebook became a vehicle for me to be extremely depressed. Like it really, talk about emotional contagions. Like I had depression, anxiety. I mean, bad things were happening. I wanted to murder the whole world for how they treat animals. It's led to good things because I'm vegetarian now. And for my birthday, people now know that I will not accept presents or flowers, but I will very happily accept donations to the local shelter. So that's one thing that's been good. I come out of it. But, I did, it's been a couple of years now that I don't engage on Facebook. I post because I love pictures. I'm a big poster, but I don't scroll through Facebook. I just know that emotionally I can't handle it. I've been through the dark part of it, and I know I can't revisit it. So, when I'm thinking about my mom, who's on Facebook a lot, scrolling and scrolling, it becomes this downward spiral of comparing my life to others, looking at what could be versus what I have. And I can see how for her, it's being this negative thing where she's like, instead of being in the present and living in the present, it's bringing her back into the past because she's connecting to her friends in Poland back when she was, when she was living there as a young adult. And she's 65 now, but she talks about the past so much. And it breaks my heart a little bit because like there's so much to look forward to and there's so much to enjoy now versus focusing on the past. And I want to tell her, put away the Facebook, but at the same time, I know that it keeps her connected to people that she cares about. So it's this double-edged sword. And you talked about being a coach and being a mentor earlier. What about being a daughter? Like what space should I be having? What role, what can I say to my mom where social media clearly is affecting her emotions? But I'm not her, it's not my place to be like, no, don't do this, don't do that. But when I try the coachy approach, I'm not getting there either. So I don't know, I feel kind of stuck, to be honest, when it comes to social media and how it's affecting emotions.
First of all, I'm not here to defend anything about social media, but the cruelty in the world is not because of Facebook. It's there. It has always been there. Whether it brings to your face, brain directly affecting you or not, it's there. So we can't really put the blame on Facebook to make it visible. Maybe it's even better that it raises awareness, people to change, maybe takes actions. In your case, you take personal actions, there could be other. The problem, it's really exacerbate, to make it bigger, the impact, exaggerate in a way, the polarization in the society. And it's all about these contagions of the emotions, because, you know, once you're stuck with the cruelty you see in the Facebook, you really create this feeling, and it's really kind of exaggerate itself over and over again, even if you feel that way or not, it's not going to change anything in the world, but you feel like you are trapped with that. This is a bad place to be. This is a very bad place to be, because in your case it's external, but it could be also about your physical appearance. It could be about your whatever personality. It could be very, very personal. And then what? This feeling is exaggerating itself over and over again to really take over. In the case of your mother, I don't know. Maybe it's time to get reconnected with something, and maybe she can't find what you want to get connected in her daily life today. And with all this COVID and everything, to be fair, it's not easy to lead a life so connected in the physical world. And once you're not in the physical world, Magda, I feel so close to you now. You are maybe, I don't know, tens of thousands of miles away, but as if you're like in my living room. So for my brain, from, I don't know, 12-inch, you're here. I can't use all my senses to make sure that you're here. Technology is not there yet, but it's coming very quickly. But you're here with me. So when I think it with your mother, which technology she uses, I don't know, but she may be feeling the same feeling of being connected. And that's all we need. And this is nothing that you can take away from her, but the solution is to fill her daily life with other connections, so that this Facebook connection loses its importance. But let's not forget, Facebook is not imposing anything on us, but it's really taking us in this spiral. More you get, the more it becomes the addiction. And to stop this is to be aware of how do I use it? Before I get a question, maybe I can also add, in the early days when we have the BlackBerry, maybe you don't remember BlackBerry, maybe you do.
No, I do, unfortunately.
Okay. You're already at our age group, okay. It was this green light, and then whenever there was a message, it turned into red. I'm talking about what, 20 years ago, whatever, so a long time ago, okay, the early days of BlackBerry. And I remember, in the middle of the night, having a dinner with my family, whatever, this green turning into red, and I can't stop myself. You know, it's impossible. I hate to grab and look. When I learned how to stop this light, I was so happy. The same thing applies to your social media. So whenever you stop all these, alerts, maybe it helps. Or maybe you can stop your own brain alerts. Maybe it helps. But at the end of the day, it serves a purpose. Let's use it, but not be used. And we need to add another comment. Most of the time, social media becomes a platform to throw your messages, but yet not allowing or enabling you to act. Sometimes to the point of being so vulnerable. Yeah, that's true. The action bit is weird, isn't it? Most of the action we take, even though let's not forget, there are many instances where authorities put the blame on social media for people to get organized to create, events or activities or protest. And that's why there are so much now pressure on social media in many countries. It's a fight between the nation states, the governments, or the way humanity has been organized. And the whole new technology is putting a question mark on this, everything that brings us here. So, it's like this book, what brings you here will not bring you there. For example, with blockchain, I'm talking about these cryptocurrency guys, and their vision is to break the link between the government and the money. They say, why government control the money? With blockchain, you don't need a government. Or what about the deed office, the ID cards? Or, for example, what we do today. Do we really need universities? Do we really need to learn every subject in 4 years? Why do we have to stop in the summer or whatever we follow this, 13 credits, 14 credits, the semester or trimester, whatever. These are all the things that we developed in order to reach the status of the civilization. But technology today is bringing us to another level. And there, again, I repeat, knowing yourself is the key. If you don't, you'll be used. But that was the case. Think about the slavery, the St. Petersburg, how they created the city or the whatever. So, or think about the world wars, how so many millions of people were killed. Or think about other movements where we really feel desperately needed whatever to change the world, but at the end of the day, we fall victim for big ideas, and those big ideas are all helping the civilization to advance. But with lots of, today, we know we have to collaborate, but even this vaccine against COVID has become a competition between countries. So on one hand, we know the humanity should move forward with technology and collaboration and everything. And at the same time, we are still in this big competition between countries, states, and everything. It's all political. And this post-truth, most of us, we don't necessarily want to understand the reality. We just see the reality from our own lens, and whatever our position is determines our opinion. And all fueled and enhanced by social media or not, to be seen. But again, whenever you feel something, the problem anthropologically, when I'm with you, Magda, here, you are here. My brain, my anthropological brain, okay, the animal brain, cannot make a distinction really. I need to smell, or I can't, touch it now, but you're here. So for my brain, when I see a human or an animal being tortured, my brain reacts like it's happening here and now. Even though I know that it's not here, but it creates so many, triggers so many emotions inside. So whenever I put myself to this position, I should also put myself equipped with the tools to deal with it. So that's why maybe coaching is really the solution, being aware, the mindfulness. When you use social media, maybe the same equal amount of time you should do meditation, because the brain needs to rest.
So speaking of coaches, one thing that I'm finding a little bit weird with coaching and social media is coaches are supposed to, withhold judgment. We are here for the client, and it's not about us, right? But social media is all about you. When you're posting, it's and it's almost, I don't want to say necessarily evil, because I hate to call it evil, but it is a tool that coaches need to leverage in order to grow awareness of them existing and their businesses, and of coaching existing. So, as a company, it's easier because we can talk about a lot more and with less restrictions, I feel, than an individual coach would. So a lot of times, I see a lot on LinkedIn, especially from coaches, where I kind of go, really? You're sure you want to be saying that? You're sure you want to be recommending this article? And it just feels like there's too much of that, of the coach, and maybe views that I find questionable. And I'm finding a hard time kind of detaching the person from the post. And then I wonder, should I be detaching the person from the post? Anyway, I'm just keen to hear kind of your opinion on how coaches should be using social media, and is there an ethical issue here at all?
First of all, I need to bring the supervision concept into play, because as continuous professional development, the coaches in EMCC, we really make it, obligatory in our accreditation that every coach should get a supervisor. And supervision is not about coaching the coach. It's also about bringing the system into play, the parallel processes, the projections, the transferences, all the whatever is affecting the personality of the coach, because you're dealing with human. And at the end of the day, maybe social media is a topic for, again, supervision, where the coaches should really have a better understanding of where they stand vis-a-vis some of the things they are exposed to. So that's why I will bring first the supervision into play in order to make it sure that the coaches are not alone in this game and they can get support. And the support is well defined. As you may be aware, EMCC has the competency framework for supervision. We have accreditation offerings for supervision, both schools and individuals. And we truly believe, we are so passionate about it. It's the quality assurance. It's the real ultimate quality assurance for coaches. And it's also the ultimate safeguard for coaches in order to kind of protect themselves. Social media ethic or whatever, I think I will refer back to the Global Code of Ethics. So, as a professional body, as a practitioner of this profession, I would say the same basic principles apply here. The professionalism, the conflicts, avoiding the conflicts, the privacy, all the things we raise in the Global Code of Ethics are really applicable in the way social media is used. But there's one more thing. Now everything's online. So I also do coaching online. And it's not the same thing. Although we know that we are equipped in a way, but for example, most of the schools that we accredited them in their conventional way, and we need to understand how they react in the online world. For example, individual people, we do accredit them to ensure the quality of their service in the conventional way, but today is a different day. So, for example, when the lockdown started back in spring, we initiated a movement. We said 4x4. I asked on LinkedIn, no organizational, just individual, voluntary basis. We said every coach, supervisor, or mentor. We invited them to provide 4 free sessions to 4 different individuals also on virtual world, and many people did it. And in some countries, they created projects around it to help the healthcare workers and everything. And I did it as well. So I had 5 people, so I coached them, mentored them, whatever. So at the end of I think the second or third session, I realized there's a pattern growing. So the topic started to resemble itself. My interactions were kind of similar. So I said, wait a minute, there's something here. So I called my supervisor and I had a very intense supervision session in order to understand what's going on. So what I understood, my mind was kind of limiting myself, blocking myself, playing all those tricks, even though I'm at the service of my coachee. The question you ask, the silence you use, suddenly and I re-watched the recordings, then I realized that I'm kind of playing the game of limiting myself with some activities I would do in conventional life, but I don't. And then bring the subjects to some areas where I stopped it and I shared it. I said to my coachees that that's what's going on. So the following session was very different, very different. So I would say the same thing online, not only digital media or social media, online, whenever we deliver anything, training or practice, we need to be aware of the new limiting beliefs we create and, deal with it.
It's a different world for sure. Are there any other questions in the audience? Oh, someone just wrote down.
Find it unsettling with myself how social media has impacted on my sense of trust. Often edit my talks and feelings on social media, wondering how this could boomerang back. Hardly ever behave in this way with people in physical presence meets. Yeah, Marvin, I hate this video block. I'm pretty at ease when I'm online, okay? So TV, whatever, I don't care, so perfect. But when they tell me that, I'm videoed, it will be recorded, a real block. So then I realized, what it is. Every online next day is on YouTube recorded video. So what's the difference? It's all this feeling of perfectionism, all this feeling of, one of the things that I had a discussion with a colleague of mine, a psychologist, there's a problem growing. For example, I have never seen myself so much all through my life. In your daily life, you look at the mirror once, maybe 10 times or 20 times, whatever, but that's it. Now, all through this last 1 hour with Magda, as I'm speaking to Magda, I'm also looking at myself. Maybe you do the same, Magda. You always check yourself, don't you?
It's so weird.
I'm looking at myself for at least few hours a day, okay? So it never happened before. So I started to really develop, how I look or whatever. So I'm tired of myself, seeing myself. It's totally new thing. So the same thing on social media. Whenever you write something, you expose yourself to something in a defenseless, because if somebody tells you something, you react. But if they write there, and the way you react may take hours and everything, but there are ways. My daughter doesn't really care too much about this. She blocks people. She gets rid of them with one click, or she even can delete the comments, whatever. So I think our brain is playing a trick for us. In the online world, we give the conventional offline reactions. So it takes time. Like me now, I'm okay with videos. I'm okay with recorded sessions and everything. So that's what I would tell you. I think it's a hint, but it needed to be tackled.
Yeah, it took me a while too. It's a very weird feeling to be seeing yourself or scrolling through a feed on Instagram and all of a sudden, no, look, it's me. But I've kind of so I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the kind of person who edits herself ever or ever has, which is why I've been in trouble with my family a lot of times. Not the black sheep, but I could
No,
maybe
but
be
I
of my
think
family.
you don't have to edit the picture. I'm talking about your comments. You rewrite. You put
I
another
know,
comment.
but I really don't edit myself at all. And I think what's been, I've always been a heart on the sleeve type person. Like I am what I am, and you either like it or you don't. Oh, bye, Riza. But I think what's interesting with social media, like it kind of maybe lets you confront yourself a little bit. So if you are feeling yourself editing yourself, is there something else there that maybe you should think about? Because there's usually a reason why you wrote the first thing, and there's a reason why you want to edit it. I mean, what's happening for you that you feel like you have to edit those thoughts? And I used to stress about this stuff. Like I would, and I still do this sometimes, I guess. Like I'll write, if I send an email or something controversial on social media, like I'll write it and I'll step away and see if I'm still comfortable with what I said before I click the send button like 10 minutes later. And then I have this internal conflict of, but hold on, like, why should you even think about this? If you thought it, then that's exactly what you should say, because that's being true to yourself. So like I give myself stress just by even thinking about
But I will go one more step, Magda. I will go one more step, and maybe it's an answer to some other add-on questions. Why do you write? Why do you comment? What makes you? It's all about these feelings.
Because it's important to me.
Emotions. You just get so passionate about it. You want to put it there.
Yeah.
Write it, but don't send it. So wait for next morning. If it really makes sense, you can send it. Do you want to really create conflict? Do you really need it?
Yeah.
Your psychology right now in the middle of the night, you really need that? Then do it. If not, why? Because most probably if you don't send it now, tomorrow you will not even remember it. It's an instant gratification. It's an instant adrenaline. It's an instant, dopamine you generate in your brain. Don't fall victim of this. Are you there on social media looking to be right? Who cares you are right or wrong? So you're just there to entertain yourself, because don't forget, we are all within our own surroundings. Whenever you really become the leader of any idea, you only convince a very small group of people. We're talking about billions of people, and you are all within your small circle of what? A few hundreds, a few thousands, a few 100,000, who care? In the vast majority of the world, those numbers are irrelevant, and most probably, this is what the expert says, you are surrounded by the people like yourself. You don't necessarily follow the people that you hate. Maybe a few exceptions, political figures, whatever. But otherwise, you really are surrounded with people like you. Whether you convince them, whether you're right or wrong or whatever, just look at the emotional side of these things. If you're looking for a fight, do it. But if you're not really looking for a fight, don't do it. And if you're looking for a fight, are you sure you really will be proud of this fight next morning when you wake up? Most probably not.
Yeah.
We know it's not our real life. It's virtual. Don't get in this trap. There are so many messages I write and I don't send, especially on WhatsApp. My weakest point is WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is the problem. I'm with my own network, okay? Large networks, whatever networks, but these are my people. And then some things pop up. They, forward a picture or whatever. Yeah, I can't stop myself. I write it, but I don't send it. Most of the time, I don't. It's futile. Next morning, it's endless, hundreds of messages, back and forth, whatever. And it's weird. Instead of having a drink and talk.
Yeah, we all have that one friend. There's actually an email that I recently sent that took me 8 years to write. Yeah, 8 years. And I'm so glad it took this long. And what's fascinating is just how much that email has changed. So I looked at all the previous versions. And when I wrote it the first time, I knew that it was just venting. And I wasn't intending to send it the next day. But I kept it as a draft because I felt like I would send it eventually. And when major things in life have happened, I revisited that email and I would change it. And if I look at what I originally wrote versus what I actually ended up sending, so completely different. But I'm proud of myself, because not just because I waited for something, which is not Magda characteristic, I'm very impatient, but also because of just how much, the self-awareness has grown and how much I applied my coaching skills to really understand the situation I was responding to originally. And I'm glad I didn't press that button. I mean, 8 years may be a bit long, but
First of all, you are a colorful lady, Magda. That's great. And the second thing, thank you for opening this. When we write those things, are we really in a dialogue with the other person, or is it a self-conversation, self-talk? If a letter takes 8 years to send, most probably it's not a dialogue with that person, the recipient, but it's a dialogue that you create in your own brain with that person. And if you're aware of this, everything you write, you don't have to send, because it's an ongoing dialogue. As you change, dialogue change. Wow, thanks for sharing this. That's strong, that's great. Thank you. All right, I think we are in a good place to wrap up now. If no any other burning, pending questions or whatever, thank you very much, all participants, for being so patient with this, in a way, banal topic. We all know what's going on in the world. But at the same time, it's also, I think, useful from a coaching head or perspective to revisit those trivial things. Because those trivial things are, let me tell you, these 6 companies together, their market cap is $7.5 trillion. And this is the more than 2,300 companies in the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Just 6 companies. And they doubled their market cap during the course of COVID. And, it should tell something to us. It's not just a game you play. It's more than this. And thank you for your patience to be with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Riza. That was great. And I've never thought about the pay attention thing. Language is very interesting to me, and Polish was my first language, but and I still dream in Polish sometimes, oddly enough. But English is now what I speak every day. And every now and then I find a phrase or a word and I'm like, oh yeah, I understand what it means differently because of my background. And pay attention isn't one I ever thought about. I didn't pay attention to it. But now that you've emphasized it, I'm really going to take it to heart and just think about, my time is valuable, my emotions are valuable. Where am I investing that time and those emotions when it comes to things that I don't think about paying for? So I will tell you tomorrow, but I will try not to doom scroll on Twitter because it's serving absolutely nobody. It's a bad investment. So thank you so much, Riza, for your time and for your kind words. And thank you so much for you attendees. This is recorded, so it'll be on YouTube soon to live forever. Like we said, weird, hey, that's the world we live in. And yeah, I will see all of you for a very different session with a very different speaker on a very different topic tomorrow and the next day for the next 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Like they say in the movies, I see you when I see you.
I see you when I see you. Hopefully in Prague in May.
Hopefully, that's the dream. Okay, hopefully. In person, all right.
In person, exactly.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.